in the ASI shop, we tell people, and they think we're joking, and we're not. We don't build costume armor. We build armor. So when we pass this around, if you guys get a chance, and like today, if you see some of the heavier armor that we walk around in, most of it is this. Some of the panels on the armor piece that I'll be walking around today are actually Italian water buffalo. Okay, that's the next step up from working with Cal, is Italian water buffalo. It's about, not a little bit thicker than that. Actually, this is a skinnier water buffalo.
Yeah, that's water buffalo.
Yeah, that's that one piece I stole out of the back cave. This is the water buffalo.
Usually the water buffalo, I've noticed it's slightly lighter, it's paler.
And it's got a different grain in
and
it.
It's got a lot more visible marbling in it.
I forgot I had that piece. And you hear that sound in our shop constantly. Usually followed by an explosion. Wow, didn't know that would happen. Cool. And then they give you guys something to put it next to. This is the armor grade, the really thick armor grade cowhide leather. So we'll pass the two around together. You can, and this stuff's old. This is from my SCA days. This probably, I'm not going to age myself. But as long as you keep it in a dry area where you don't let it get wet and then stick it in your bag or in the closet and forget about it, you should still be able to work with it even if it's been sitting a while. Now, one thing. Don't take your leather piece, even if you just went to Tandy and dropped $200 on this really nice, pretty piece of leather, and you throw it in the back of your car, and you just happen to live in San Antonio or Austin or Houston, and you've got like 12 more stops to make, and it's 110 degrees outside, and you leave the leather in direct sunlight, you're not going to be happy when you get home. It will discolor. And you'll go to roll this out, and now that really pretty piece you had already set up in your head where you're going to put all your pattern pieces to make this, now has a big white sun fade spot right in the middle of it. It will destroy your leather. The other thing too, if when wearing your leather, even sweating during the day, running around the convention, running from panel room to panel room, at night when you get up into your hotel room, open up your piece of leather and let it air out. Trust me on this one. Or your roommates are not going to be happy. If you forget about it and you chunk it in your bag, and... Sorry. Look into the light, Carolyn. I get it. They're here. Okay, who brought popcorn? It's movie time.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot it.
If you forget and you chunk it in your bag, and because you're in a hurry, when you go to open said bag in about 3 or 4 days because you have to get back and go to class or go to work, and it's been in your trunk in 110-degree weather and you sweated all over it and or it rained on you, yeah, when you open the bag, wave back because it's going to say hi. There is one little street.
I don't know if they told me if you needed the video in this case.
This ain't a concert.
I don't know if you guys see any specific details.
No, we don't, bro.
Yeah. Alright. Sorry.
It's cool, though.
Would you like SteamPunk?
Sorry for the distraction.
We got 2 hours, man.
I just have to point out, you're like that guy on Police Academy.
I've heard that.
Just wanted to let
Have
you
you
know.
noticed it? Do a siren. I don't know what's better, the faces or the noise.
It's just great.
We're in sleep deprivation. It's all the way. One of the street tricks that one of our workers had taught us, I would call him old, but he'll probably hear about it and like shoot me. Dr. Nightshade, if you ever get a chance to, if he's at an event, master leather worker. The Aussie that comes in the purple bottles, it's a spraying conditioner for your hair. If you come across it, grab bottles of it. Because it's conditioner. If you read the ingredients, it's the same ingredients that are in the $20 a bottle conditioners they sell at Tandy. It's the same stuff, except the Aussie smells like grape, and for those of us that grew up in the 80s, remind us of being kids that danced in the 80s. People wonder why you're a freak walking around smelling your armor. Because it smells so good. It brings you back to being in a gym and just rocking back and forth and pretending you're dancing. So if you guys get a chance to get your hands on some, you just spray it onto your leather, rub it in. We've taken leather that Dr. Nightshade has had in his storage shed out back, that you pulled it out and it was kind of hard to tell it was leather because it was fuzzy. I mean, just, it had forest.
It was pretty rank.
Yeah, it was like, and be careful too, because that mold and stuff, you really don't want to breathe it. We're all wearing masks and gloves and stuff to remove the leather. Spray the Aussie hairspray or hair conditioner on a rag and start wiping the leather down, and it came back. It took the mold right off of it, re-moistened it, and it was pliable again and had that nice grapey smell, and worked beautiful.
Now, isn't that what he used on these when these were rigs? He basically used them on these because they were way too rigid and they were digging into his heels when they were his boots at the time. Dr. Nightshade tried some of it on this, rubbed it down and everything, and it loosened it to where before you could stand the boots up and they just stay standing on their own. Whereas afterwards, stand it up and they just plop to the side. So they're a lot more loose. And so if you have leather that you don't want it as stiff and rigid, you want it to be a movable part, you can also spray it down with that before you go and dye it.
The mane and tail conditioner that you can buy, the mane and tail conditioner does almost the same thing.
That works.
Yeah,
I like,
that's
personally, I like the Aussie. I like the grape smell. Reminds me of girls' hair in the 80s. But, whatever makes you happy. So, these pieces, Italian water buffalo. Makes really good leather armor, but after you're done making your armor, trust me, you're going to have man hands. Alright, once you get down to some of the thinner leathers, you can go from that piece there's probably, that's 10, 11 ounce, all the way down to 2, 3 ounce, and even thinner to your kipping leathers and stuff like that. This is the gray leather, size leather we usually use for all of our projects. It's just easier to work with. If you're going to be using it on molding projects, if you want to mold a cell phone case, some block, whatever you're going to mold, that's a pretty good thickness of leather to work with when you're molding, especially if you're still learning how to wet mold leather. You can get all the way down to the kipping leathers and the really thin stuff, which is this. It is technically possible to tool on leather this thin. It is an advanced art to do it. One of the things you have to do is you have to tape and put a backing on the back of this when you go to tool. The reason is once you get this wet, it is so thin, you'll draw out this really pretty picture of all these gears that you want to tool onto the leather. The second you start tooling on it, the leather will actually start to stretch. So the gear that was this big when you started will be this big when you're finished. Okay? So you want to back it, and we have a trick that we use with packing tape that we put on the back of it, and it keeps the leather from stretching out when you're trying to tool on it. One little street trick. And plus, that's just a cool sound to walk around doing. The other reason I always got into doing leather work. Just for the sound. That's what you carry belt piece around like this where you walk around. And anybody who wears leather armor and tells you they don't like that sound is lying. There's just something about... Yeah, sorry. You can go to... creepy, like it. No, that's Cal.
You know what's weird? I just remembered what my dream was.
Are you gonna tell us? Are you gonna tell us?
Pulling leather. I couldn't for the life of me find the rock.
Yes, we have the oldest tool known to man. It's the most important tool in our tool collection. The rock. We will tell you what we do with the rock here in a little bit. Of course, it's great for making jokes when we hand it to somebody and they go, "Beat on leather." You can go. We'll pass these around. They're just different. Some of these leathers you can't get at Tandy anymore. It was really nice. My wife's uncle, great uncle, I say this is nice, that sounded really morbid. He ended up passing away. Well, when he was an old guy too, so he had fun. When he passed away, they opened up his storage shed. He was an old leather worker, and they're like, "Hey, take what you want." So there's some of this leather that I haven't seen since the 80s. You can also go so far as to get into the pretty stuff and start playing with some of the different exotics. The gators, we actually have which I tried to find it in the supply room and I couldn't find it. We have pieces, you can go to the Candy Leather, get stingray. Yes. Stingrays are really pretty, but they will chew up the blades on your tools that quick. Where? Oh, you don't remember? It wasn't a supply room, I don't know what that now.
Didn't we have 2 pieces?
I only had 1. Because I've been sitting around the supply room looking at it going, what am I going to do with that?
I saw it was on the water here.
That's where I saw it last year.
No, they do some weird stuff with the stingray hides too. They'll dye them or
They'll dye them. Actually, one of the gentlemen at Jesse's husband has this pair of stingray boots.
It's so clear.
Yeah, it's really fun stuff to work with. Oh my God, it's expensive.
They do prints on them, like animal prints. Like they'll make it look like zebra or giraffe. It's weird seeing that on stingray. Yeah.
And you get gator, you can get into snake. The snakes can get expensive, really expensive, depending on what kind of snake you're dealing with. I will have one segue, be careful on some of the stuff you buy, because some of the anaconda skins that you can get are black market only, and it is illegal to have them in your possession. So, not that I would condone illegal activities. Just be careful what you get and when you get it at, so you don't get in trouble for it. Ooh, biker leather. You can get into some of the heavier, thicker stuff. You'll see a lot of those of us that ride motorcycles will have our chaps and our vests and our jackets made out of this stuff. And a lot of it is oil treated, like this.